Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk About It with Inayah Mushirah. Make sure you take the time to subscribe, like, and hit the post notifications to stay up to date with my latest podcast. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk About It with Inayah Mushirah. We're going to unpack what it really means to overcome people's opinions, to finally be okay with who you truly are. Today we're going to welcome Cam. Damn, Cam!
Damn, Cam. What's going on, Inayah?
What's up, man? How you feeling?
I'm good. I'm ready. It's a pleasure to be here. So I saw the episode you did with Brio, and I saw the episode she did with Kevin, and I was like, I gotta get on. Like, I saw everything was set, and I was like, this is my platform.
Oh,
because I wanted to speak, and I was like, if there's a platform I feel comfortable on, it's yours. So
wow,
here we are.
That means so much. Well, Cam, we got a whole lot to talk about, and we're gonna get into it. What's the biggest assumption you think people make about you, and how true is it?
I think the biggest assumption is people are automatically like, oh, he's privileged. Everything was handed down to me. I don't have to work for anything. I was blessed in it, because especially if they don't know my backstory, they're like, you're just this basic white guy that has everything. Never had to work for anything. Everything is just there.
Okay.
Completely wrong.
So why do you feel like people think that?
I feel like there's a lot of stereotypes nowadays with people in general. The color of my skin, and then people just assume things, and it's like you don't know until you know.
Right. So take me back.
Okay.
When did you feel like people started making these assumptions about you?
I'm gonna come out and say it because I feel really comfortable. Something that I finally become comfortable with to speak about. I'm adopted. So we're going way back to the very beginning. The day after I was born, I was adopted. So I got, my actual mother and father that had me put me up for adoption. My mom got a phone call the day I was born that said, hey, there's this kid. She'd been trying for months to have a kid. She got a phone call that was like, hey, there's a baby that's up for adoption. If you want to come in, you guys want to take the opportunity, go for it. So she decided to go in, and the next day they brought me home. And so that kind of started my journey. Fast forward a couple years later, and a bunch of things go down, and my mother and father end up getting divorced. And I guess people really started knowing my backstory because somehow it got out, not only that I was adopted, but also that my parents were divorced around the same time. So imagine being a kid in a private school, a type of environment where, everybody's already like, it's tight-knit community, buddy. And people just, you go to school one day and people just know your whole entire backstory. So they automatically assume. They knew that, we lived in a country club. They knew that, we were a, prevalent family in the city. I grew up in a city called Florence, and I'm from South Carolina.
I know where Florence is.
Okay. So it's very, they call it the middle point between Miami and New York, because it's quite literally in the middle of 95.
Wow.
So, growing up in that type of community, everybody automatically knew your story, and you didn't even really know your story. So I feel like the assumptions start way back when. So automatically I was put into a box of having to find myself where I hadn't even developed as a person, and I'm already struggling with things. So
let me ask you this question. What's the hardest part about being judged for a privilege you didn't ask for?
I think it's so easy to get in your head nowadays, right? So when you're automatically when you're battling your own internal stuff, but you have these people that constantly are speaking, people are going to talk either way. I learned that the hard way. I learned that, whether you're the best person on the planet or you do all these bad things, people are still going to have a perception about you. So I think it's really just, it's just internal for me. It's a lot of it's so easy to get in your head mentally. So
it sounds like you care about what people think about you. Is that true?
I'm learning not to. So that's always been my thing is, you can call me a people pleaser because I'm always, I always for the longest time struggled with people, wanted to please people, I actually cared about what people thought about me. I cared about the way that I felt like I always had to I had to be perceived a certain way, so I had to act that way. So when I started to find myself, I started kind of, pulling back on that. So I'd say I'm still in the process of doing that, but it's definitely been a struggle for sure.
Yeah. So How would you say people pleasing and trying to prove yourself to others have affected your mental health?
Big time. So, obviously it's so easy to get into your head and it's so easy to fight all these mental battles. But it's like I had to break down everything that I knew which is kind of what actually led me into the artistic process, is rediscovering yourself. I fortunately was able to rediscover myself with music, because growing up in a childhood where I never fit in anywhere. So you have your sports kids, you have your smart kids, you have your artistic kids. I tried to fit into all those lanes, and I tried to, when you're already an outcast because you're not popular and you're not in a friend group or you don't go into a certain space, you automatically get into headspaces. It's like, what's my purpose?
Yeah.
Where do I go from here? What do I do? And so, fortunately for me, music's always been my first love. I tell people since I was a little baby, my grandparents used to say, you have rhythm. My grandparents used to get mad at me because I was always stomping my foot and clapping my hands. Sure. And so it goes back to there. But I feel like really deep diving into finding myself and rebuilding myself through music allowed me to get through everything that I was going through at the time. So I feel like that led me to where I am today. So
nice.
That's kind of why, I've decided that throughout the musical journey and where I am now, I really want to be a voice for those people. Because I know there's people out there right now that feel exactly like I do. Sure. I want to be a voice for those kids, even for the adults, for the people that still don't know what they want to do. I want to be a voice is to say, I feel like it's never too late. I feel like people put a timestamp on, when you can, you have to be somebody at a certain time, otherwise it's too late. And I don't think that's true. Luckily for me, I discovered it, when I was 11, 12, 13. But I say to anybody out there that's struggling, I want to be a voice through my music and through my journey as to say, if I can do it, you can too.
So would you consider yourself the black sheep?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I guess we'll continue to deep dive into trauma. I was forced to mature really young. So obviously I let out the big secret that I was adopted, and then I told you my parents were divorced. But that led, so when that situation happened between my mother and my father, it led my mother to go down, I love you, Mom, but I'm going to say it, she went down a really dark path.
Sure.
And so for me, being in a household that was just me and her, when she was going through all these things, I kind of stepped into the role and the responsibility of having to be the man in the house since there was no man around. And so there were a lot of nights where, I would have to take care of her if she was out or if she did these. So I tell people all the time, I'm like, I'm so mature and I'm able to be in the headspace that I am today because of all those things that I went through.
Right.
All those things, when you're put in a situation where you have to be an adult as a 13, 14-year-old, that's tough.
Yeah.
And I know there's a bunch of, like I said, being a voice, there's so many people out there that go through these things on a regular basis. So that's why I want to be an outlet, is to say, I hear you, I see you, and I did it, so you can too. It's
so
like,
for those kids who are going through that currently, those teenagers, even young adults who are currently going through that, what would your advice be to them? How would you help that teenager, get through their current situation?
Be yourself. I feel like being yourself, staying true to who you are. Don't feel like just because you're in that situation, you don't have to do certain things. Because I know for me, I was really scared. I tried to take the easy way out and rope people into it. I would call my grandparents. I would call her friends. I would call on anybody that I felt like could help me. And I didn't realize that it all had to come internally. So for anybody out there that I feel like is going through that, you just kind of have to be yourself and realize that you can do it. Because I'm a believer in anything is possible. I don't
Absolutely.
I'm very I try to keep a positive mindset because of all the negative stuff that has happened to me. I know it's hard because, when you get in certain mental states, it's really detrimental. But I try to I say just stay positive and be yourself, and you can never go wrong.
Yeah, something that I've learned when it comes to the challenges of life, because we all have different challenges, some a little tougher than others, is that those challenges a lot of times happen because your calling is a little higher. That doesn't mean that everybody else's calling isn't important, but your calling specifically is a little higher, which means that in order for me, right, to be able to talk and communicate to other people. In order for me to be able to connect and help the next generation, or even somebody that's older than me, I maybe had to go through those experiences. Now, is that for everyone? No, but I like to look at the negative things and say, hey, if I didn't go through that, then I wouldn't be who I am today.
Right.
Because who I am today at such a young age, I'm able to impact and help and walk in my purpose a little sooner.
You know, I used to play I played the victim card probably until I'm 24 now. I played the victim card until I was probably about 20. So, you know, I graduated high school and then I went off to college. And throughout, you know, up until I really started my artistic journey, and I know we'll get into that later, I always used to blame myself. And then I always used to blame my mom and my dad, because I always used to tell them all the time, I was like, you guys are the reason that I am who I am. You put me through that. They didn't put me through that at all. The universe, I believe the universe, things happen for a reason. The universe, I feel the exact same way, that the universe put me through all that trauma, all that hurt, all that growing up early to put me where I am now. Right. That's a big part. Like I said, I want to be a storyteller. I want to be a voice for people. You can't be a voice without going through things. So I feel like for me, going through all that heartache and all that pain, I'm here and I'm able to.
Without a story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't be. And so for me, going through as difficult of a story as I did, I feel like I have the ability to be a successful voice. I feel like people are going to be able to cling on to me and grow with me and understand that, like I said, if I went through it, I'm a living, I'm a storyteller. I went through it, and I know there's people out there that are going through the same. So why wouldn't I want to help people? I feel like I'm doing
I want to go a little deeper.
Okay.
I want people to really understand when you said if I went through it. So I know part of it, you said that, you know, you had to take care of your mom. Part of it is you grew up adopted. Part of it is you grew up with in a wealthy family. But what did you go through that people can really connect with emotionally and mentally?
So while all those things were going on, I realized that my mental health was horrible. I think I went through it. I think the reason that I became such a recluse and I was so kept off to myself and never really was able to connect with people is because I was dealing with such a mental journey. I feel like, I would go to school. I'd wake up, and sometimes I wouldn't want to wake up to go to school, but I would go to school and I would get through class. I wouldn't socialize with people while I was there. I would come home and I seriously would lock myself in my room and not come out until the next morning. And that was a consistent thing. Depending on how I felt, like if there was something that made me happy, funny enough, what made me happy was music. So funny, when I started teaching myself, so I'm a self-taught musician. That's awesome. When I started, that's actually really funny. But when I started connecting with music, it gave me the outlet that I needed to get out of that, because I would really say that I would call it a battle with depression. Sure. Really putting a label on it, it was depression, because when you get so caught up in a situation like that and in a headspace that it deters you from doing everything that you're supposed to be doing, it's hard. Yeah. And I know that so many people lose those battles. That's another reason when I really think about it and I really think about wanting to be a voice, I know so many people that have lost those battles. Right. And I know so many people that have people that lose those battles on a regular basis. Sure. And I want to be like, for instance, I did a show when I was in high school, and it was a benefit concert for a sheriff that had passed away. He died in a shooting. And I played a benefit concert, and I played Purple Rain. That was the song choice. Prince is a big inspiration of mine. So I did Purple Rain, and after the show, the sergeant's father comes up to me and goes, "I know you didn't know this, but that was his favorite song." Wow. And you touched me. I was in tears the whole entire time you performed. Wow. And I think it was that day that made me realize that if you can touch one person with doing what you love, imagine being able to take it to a level where you can touch thousands, right, potentially millions, and you can save those lives. Right. Not only through my journey and what I've been through, but with what I'm creating. That's bigger than powerful. That's monumental. Wow. And that's what I pride myself on every day when I wake up, every day when, I'm putting myself in an artistic headspace, is what can I do to help somebody today? That's beautiful. And I think that's really, when you go through a dark time like that, I think that's really, it took a lot for me to get to that headspace. But now that I'm in that headspace now, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to just skyrocket and just be wherever this journey takes me. That's what like I said, it's taken a while for me to get to that point. A lot of soul searching, a lot of mental work, a lot of, I did on and off therapy. I did all the things that you could possibly do to be able to get me to where I am now. And I'm still at the focal point of one person. That's it. It's beautiful. Funny. The label that I'm working with is called 1 degree. It's always the ones, like 1 degree, one person, one journey, one path, all these things. It's like the universe is aligning, and it's basically telling me, you were put on this earth to do this.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, like I said, it takes people a while sometimes to figure out what they wanted to do.
Sure.
I tried the sports. I tried the educational journey. I tried, everything that I thought I wanted to do, but it wasn't until music really touched me to the point where it's put me where I am now that I was like, this is it. Yeah. And I know that it's my calling because I'm willing to do whatever it takes to do whatever I need to do to help those people. Not only to help those people, but when you can do what you love for a living, it leaves me speechless when I start to think about it. It's beautiful. I feel like I'm in a really good position, and I know that my journey's just getting started.
Sure.
So I'm, like I said, wherever this journey takes me.
Well, Cam, I do want to take a moment and say this, just in case you haven't heard in a while. I'm proud of you.
Wow.
That's very...
You're going to make me emotional. I know I don't need to cry on camera, but
very inspirational.
Vulnerability is good. So
I appreciate you being vulnerable. Thank you.
Of course.
So let me ask you this question. I just want to wrap back around a little bit. You made a very important statement where you said, I took myself out of victim mode. Now, I was watching a podcast today, and in the podcast, he was talking about, we all go through negative events or what we perceive as negative, right?
Absolutely.
And obviously, to your point, a lot of times it's to teach us a lesson, to help us grow in our purpose, or whatever the case is. However, if we look at a negative event and we say, this is negative, right, and we sink in the negativity, then that's the outcome. That's what it becomes, and more avenues and frequencies and vibrations of negativity opens up out of that outcome. Versus if we say, okay, this is not a favorable situation, negative. However, I'm going to choose to remain positive in this. I'm going to choose to try to see the lesson, if there is one, and I'm going to choose to just stay in a higher frequency. And what naturally happens in those cases is that positive outcomes begin to open up. The doors start to open up. We start to perceive things differently, and it leads in a different direction. Mm-hmm. So when you just said a minute ago, I took myself out of victim mode, and now you own the situation as far as, okay, I'm no longer the victim, right? How did you get to that point of saying, I'm not a victim of this situation?
I feel like in the universe, you give what you get. So I feel like if you feed off of negative energy, and you feed off of all the negativity, like if you take a specific situation and you go, that happened to me because, or, me being a people pleaser, I always like to take the blame. So I put myself in situations where I'm like, no, everything's okay. I apologize. It was my fault. Let's leave it at that. When you start doing things like that, everything negative is just like, it turns the whole entire situation negative. So you really have to, for me, it was, like I said, really having to break down those walls and start realizing that if I think positively and I put myself in a positive mindset, only positive things are going to come. So for me, that was the situations that I went through happened for a reason. I stopped blaming my dad for the situation that happened with the divorce of my mom. I stopped blaming my mom because what she turned to when the divorce happened. I stopped blaming both of them for putting me in that situation and realized I was put in that situation to be the person I am today.
Absolutely.
And to do that, I mean, like I said, that took years. That took me from when the divorce happened when I was 11 and my whole childhood all the way up until I was basically 21. So that really took, 10 years?
So it sounds like you also mastered the art of forgiveness in that case.
Absolutely.
So how important is forgiveness when it comes to moving forward in your journey and in your life?
Forgiveness is massive. I feel like I've come to a place where I believe that I don't like to burn bridges. I like to, which could come from people pleasing too, but I don't like to not give people second chances. I believe that everybody can change. I believe that just because you act out in a situation doesn't mean that you can't change. Doesn't mean that you can't learn from the mistakes that you've made and go. So that also took a lot of work. It took a lot of work for me to learn how to forgive myself. So when you first, it starts with forgiving yourself. That was able to take me away from the victimizing and really putting myself in those negative spaces. And now I'm learning to forgive others too. So like, take a relationship, for instance. You get into a situation where it's really nobody's fault because both of you were in a situation, but the blame starts to come. Then you start to say, well, this happened because, or this happened because. Just forgive. I'm learning from situations that I've been in that the blaming is where the negative energy comes from. So when you say, okay, maybe I am wrong, or maybe you are wrong, maybe we should forgive one another, it's powerful. Like, it's like it fixes everything. It's like, I almost can't explain it because it's so, like, I feel like forgiveness is massive.
Let me ask you this question, since we're on the topic of relationships,
Okay.
right? How has people pleasing made it hard for you to be loved authentically?
Whew.
How has people pleasing made it hard for you to be loved authentically?
For me to be loved authentically. I like to give. I think that's one of the love languages is gift giving, but I like to give all the time, and I feel like I give 110% energy 24/7 because I'm a people. So I feel like whenever you give that much energy and you put out that much energy, there's a sense of comfortability that comes with it. So I feel like I'm learning that it's okay to, like, obviously, they say relationships are 50-50. I feel like they're 100-100. That's just my personal mind.
1,000%.
See? Okay, so I'm not wrong, because, I always used to say, I was like, 50-50 sounds like half.
Yeah.
So I say 100-100. But I'm learning that it's okay on some days to only give 99%. It's okay on some days to give 70%, and it's okay on some days to really give 50%. Because if you give 110% 24/7, when that comfortability comes, the person's gonna get too comfortable, and then it's almost gonna push them away from you.
Yeah.
I learned that from a recent situation that I was like, I keep giving and giving and giving and giving, and it's like, you're not necessarily getting.
So do you feel like through people pleasing, it makes it hard for, in a romantic relationship, that person to love who you actually are versus what you can do for them?
Absolutely. Because what you can do for them is, unfortunately, you don't want it to go there, but it's like when you show how much you can do for somebody, I feel like it changes their mindset. It takes away from what a relationship really is.
And what is a relationship?
A relationship should be to love one another unconditionally. But unfortunately, instead of like the real love, it turns into maybe physical objects. It turns into maybe acts of kindness, acts of service. It takes away from like what I feel is like the true core.
Right.
And that's when things start going south.
Right.
That's when you have to like sit down. Like I said, breaking down walls. That's when you really have to almost start at square one again.
Yeah.
And so being put in positions, because I've been in positions like that before, that's when it gets bad. That's when the mental headspace and the depression and that's when all that can relapse and come back.
Spiraling down.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I think you have to realize your self-worth first. I think you have to realize that you have to know yourself. But so they say you have to be able to love yourself before you can love somebody else.
Sure.
I've learned to live by that because that couldn't be any more true. Since I'm such a people pleaser, I tend to do way more for others than I do for myself. That's where, the bullying is coming through my whole life. That's where the people take too much and never give anything. I think you have to realize that you have to do what's right for you first. So I feel like there has to be a balance between you knowing what's right for you and you also knowing what's right for your relationship. And until you can get to that balance, it's just not going to work.
Right.
But obviously that takes work and that takes commitment and that takes all the key factors of a relationship have to be right in order to find that balance. So that's how you know you haven't met your person, because if you meet your person, you can find the balance. So I feel like there's a lot of, like I said, I like to use the term soul searching. I feel like you have to soul search because it's like, do you really know your person? Do you really know what that person means to you, or is it just something you want?
Right. I feel like another big part when it comes to, per se, finding your person, I don't like to use the term finding.
Okay.
Right? Because if I'm saying I'm finding my person, that means they're lost. My person's not lost. They're just not right here, right? So I feel like the more you evolve and you become your higher self, the more you work on those triggers, the more you align with your purpose and the most authentic person or authentic version of you, the more your person aligns with you as well on that frequency.
Absolutely.
Because what happens is I do think we have multiple people, right? At my lower frequency, there's a lower frequency person to match me.
Right.
In my mid frequency, there's a mid frequency person to match me. At my highest frequency, God, I can't wait, right? There is the higher frequency of the person to match me.
Absolutely.
And I think it goes back to exactly what you just said as far as the soul searching, the acknowledging, to say, hey, I'm going through this right now. This is a lesson. It's hard to get out of this, but I need to. Right, I need to learn a lesson so I can continue to grow as a person, so I don't feel held back. So speaking of held back, how does being with the wrong person affect your career as an artist?
I know my management team at One Degree Entertainment is going to get a kick out of this because they can speak firsthand on at least two situations, maybe numerous situations that I've been through that have completely deterred everything for me.
What do you mean?
When you get, I spoke on comfortability earlier. When you get really comfortable in a relationship, it gets to a point where, in the wrong relationship, let me say that. When you're in the wrong relationship, so it could be the lower frequency or the middle frequency, depending on where your head's at, you put yourself in a position where you're willing to do whatever it takes to make that work. Unfortunately, that means that you might channel all of your energy into that relationship and none of that energy into your career. You might channel 80% of that relationship into that relationship and 20% of that energy into your career.
Sure.
When in reality, there also has to be a balance there. Because for me as an artist, and for me as an artist that's trying to go where I need to go, I'm still having to learn today, actually. Let me speak. I'm not perfect. I'm still having to learn and find that balance of doing whatever it takes for my career, but also being able to handle what a life may look like with a relationship, what a life may look like behind the scenes of everything that everybody else sees. So I feel like energy and what you put into things, as an artist, let me just say, as an artist, your career should be first. So I'm having to learn, because there's so much temptation nowadays. There's temptation in relationships, there's temptations everywhere. So I'm having to learn that if you want a relationship, not only do you have to understand that what it takes, the person that you're going to be in a relationship with has to understand that too.
Sure.
It has to be like an energy match, or it has to be a match, period, because they have to realize that at the end of the day, whatever they want from you has to come after you do whatever it takes for your career.
Sure. Now, do you believe that your career comes first, or there's balance? You have to find someone who understands the balance. And this is why I asked that.
Okay.
There's no right or wrong answer.
Of course.
I'm very neutral in it. So, I was in my career, and I wound up moving to another state to continue to grow and evolve in my career. I was in a relationship, too. And I asked my partner, I said, how do you feel about me moving? And if she didn't support it, I wasn't going to do it.
Of course.
Now, understand this. I was younger. So,
Right.
There's no of course. I was just younger.
That's what, when you're young,
It's like, in this stage of my life, no, you make the best decision for you.
And for your
partner, but it depends on the dynamic of that relationship.
Right.
So now if I look at myself, where I am in my career, I don't like to say my career comes first, right? But I'm in a different stage. I also don't like to say my partner would come first. I like to say it would be balanced, right? Meaning I would have to be with someone who fully understands what my career means and what I have to do to remain established and continue to evolve, meaning they support that.
Absolutely.
Meaning if you don't support it, then we won't work, because then it will feel like my career is coming first.
Right.
Whereas even with my partner, I would hope so. They have passions that they're going for, and I understand that there's elements where they're going to have to be busy or gone or doing this and that. I may not feel like they're putting their career, above me. I understand that this is what comes with it, and you have to make time for that, and I have to make time for this, and we have to make time for each other.
Right.
So I feel like, understanding that balance in a relationship is everything. Having somebody who you're actually evenly yoked with means more than it doesn't feel like a competition between your career and versus me.
Absolutely. Because when those two things start to bash, that's when things get bad. That's when people want to pull away from you. That's when people want to say, oh, well, you're not spending enough time with me, or oh, you're not doing this, or oh, you're not doing that. I feel like in a perfect world, which a perfect world does not exist, in a perfect world, I feel like there is a balance. But I'm learning that to be at the level that I want to be and to go where I want to go, my career does have to come first. So I'm learning that it's okay to do less of certain things, even outside of a relationship. It's okay to do less of certain things I might want to do and start doing more to better my career.
Sure.
Because it takes those things to better your career to get to the top. And I'm not just, I don't want to do this just for 5 minutes of fame. I don't want to do this this is my big message. So if you take away anything from this interview, this is what you need to take away. I don't want the fame. I don't want the money. I don't want any of the benefits that come with it. Like we touched on in the beginning, I want to be a voice for people. I want to touch people. And I also want to do it. I feel like there's always been a fire that's been lit under me since I discovered that music was my passion, that I have this almost internal need to do this. Like it's like a personal satisfaction. I don't know if that comes from the trauma or the backstory or whatever. It's like, I don't just want this, I need it. And so in order for me to need it, I have to give 110%.
Gotcha.
And that's where I'm at now, is I'm willing to do whatever it takes, whether that's, instead of spending an hour playing my keyboard, if that's spending 3 hours playing my keyboard,
sure.
Whether that's sitting down and, my management team would tell you that I'm not the best with social media. So if that's me taking 2 hours a day and cropping videos and, or filming videos or filming rehearsals, all those little things add up to make you and to make me the artist where I want to go.
Sure. So I don't know, what that just made me think about, just listening to you, is understanding where you are in your life, right? And what I mean is sometimes we want more than we have the capacity to hold. And I'm talking about relationships right now because we're talking about relationships. So maybe, we may be in a point in our life where we can only give 100% to our career because that is where we are. I don't have the capacity for anything else.
Right.
Or to your point, when we're evolving as people, and I can only use myself as an example, right?
Okay.
When I went through my darkest moment, I did not have the capacity to deal with anyone outside of who was the closest to me. Meaning I had like 3 people who were super close to me, and those are the only 3 people who had access to me for 10 months. Relationship, out the door. Really trying to go strong in my career, out the door. Because the number one thing for me at that point was my mental health. I didn't have the capacity for anything else.
Absolutely.
And when I tried to bring other things into it, it didn't work. Right? So I think what I'm hearing and what it made me reflect on is that understanding where you are in your life and the capacity that you hold, so that way you don't let people down, situations, you don't put too much on yourself that you can't really carry at the moment.
And you don't want to put people in those type of situations either. That's my biggest thing, is I wouldn't want to deep dive into a friendship, let alone a relationship, to where they needed me more than I could give to them.
Sure.
And that happens a lot. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that are going through relationship issues or going through friendship issues, even going through family issues where that person needs them more than they can give.
Right.
And when you're so like laser focused and locked in on doing what you love and doing what you want to do, that's hard.
Absolutely.
Especially if you can't, like, thankfully I've been able to put myself in the mindset to where I have the mental capacity to do more outside of my career. But 110% honest, I can't tell you how long that took to get to that point. That took a lot of heartbreak. That took a lot of mental work, a lot of physical work. That took so much to get to the mindset I am now. And that just goes to show you that it's like, I guess it really just depends on, your personal self. Everybody's journey is different. That's what I believe. So everybody's relationship journey is different. Everybody's career journey is different. But I know for me, I'm in the headspace now that I'm just trying to do everything that I can for my career.
That's awesome. And you're doing a damn good job.
I appreciate it.
Let me ask you this question, Cam. What is something that you had to unlearn about success and self-worth in order to continue to evolve?
Unlearn?
Yeah.
I feel like comfort. I keep going back to comfortability, but when you put yourself in a mindset that you feel like you're already the best, and you feel like, it's so easy to be a know-it-all in today's society. So especially being younger, like you touched on your younger self, I'll touch on my younger self. I thought that I was cool as hell for being a self-taught musician, an aspiring artist, and I thought I knew everything. When I didn't, and I'll touch on top of this, the importance of a team.
I was about to ask you that.
That's so crazy. See how
took it out of my head.
You see how the universe works here?
You took that right out of my head.
Let's segue into that, because if I didn't have
awesome.
if I didn't have Kevin Bryant and I didn't have 1 Degree Entertainment,
sure,
I would be like 99% of the artists out there that just put everything out on a daily basis, 7 days a week. You see them 7 days a week doing this, and this. I had no clue about the structure and the business side. I had no clue about anything. So I feel like I had to unlearn everything that I thought I knew in order to put me where I am today with this structure and this team around me that's really going to elevate me to where I want to go.
Let me ask you this question.
Okay.
I'm curious.
Hit me.
So I think a team, it doesn't only have to reflect the music, right?
Of course.
So this is for everyone.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about music for a second.
Okay.
So.
My love.
Why is having a team so important to elevate? And do you feel like you actually need a team to elevate?
Oh, I 100% feel like I need a team. Let's just take, for instance, marketability. And so let's take the social media side of things, or even management. You see so many people. So obviously the independent world has grown tremendously. There's so many people out there that are, I don't need a team, or they get in this headspace that they want to do everything on their own.
They're blowing up on social media.
But see, that's the thing. I learned through my team. Let me just touch on Kevin Bryant for a minute.
All right, Kevin.
Let me just touch on the one and only, the legendary, I call him the GOAT. He's probably...
I'll put his picture right here.
Wherever it is.
Bryant.
Kevin
go right
Bryant. Here. Kevin Bryant. That's my man. He really has been the person that helped me unlearn everything that I thought I knew and has put me where I am. From the first day I met Kevin, his smile, his art, people talk about when you see somebody that they can just walk into a room and light the place up.
Yeah.
That's Kevin. He just has this, this glow around him that it makes you want to be around him.
Sure.
So having the privilege to work with him, that's carried over into the music side. He's eager about creation. He's eager about making sure that you're on time to places, making sure that you're posting all the time, making sure that your management side of things is good, making sure that the business... 1 Degree Entertainment seriously has changed my life. And I'm not just saying that because I'm biased towards Kevin. I'm not just saying that because I'm biased towards having a team. When you have a team and you have people that are placed in specific... 1 Degree has a business side. They have a PR side. They have a branding side. They have all these things in place that an artist truly needs to get to... 1 Degree's building legends. So basically, since 1 Degree's building legends, the goal with Cam Nettles is to be a legend.
Sure.
So when I was talking really?
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, I hate to interrupt.
No, you're good.
So, I don't know if you, well, of course you remember. I think this was Juneteenth. You had the closing.
I did, absolutely.
When I saw you on stage do the closing, you were the closer. What do you call it? The closing?
Just call me the closer. It sounds like a baseball term.
The closer.
Shout out to...
And that's what you want to be when you're performing, the closer.
Shout out to Aaron Judge, number 99.
When I saw you performing, it was amazing. And you had everybody just engaged. And you were having so much fun. And what you do, like your style of music and with the piano and just everything, you don't see that. You don't see that often.
You really don't, right?
And then also you do a lot of soul music. You don't see a bunch of gingers, doing soul music. So that helps you stand out, and it's a beautiful thing to see, and I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I see just who you are, your image. You as an artist, you're a great person, and when you're on stage, you're super passionate, right? And then just this. If you don't appreciate your story and how you don't care about the fame, how you don't care about anything, just I want my art to influence someone, to me, that right there is legendary enough. If that doesn't say enough, that says it all.
Wow, that I'm gonna need a moment because that just hit right here, that hit in the heart.
Because you got to understand, a lot of people do things and they expect an outcome, right? When you expect a certain outcome, you put expectations on it, and it takes away from the art. It takes away from whatever possibility the universe has for you.
Absolutely.
When you do things out of the passion and out of your heart, now you allow the universe to unfold the path, whatever way it's supposed to go, right? It's not about the money. It's not about anything other than this is what I love to do.
Right.
And when you do something that you love to do, I remember I was listening to this analogy, right? We all have a purpose.
Absolutely.
And you got to think about it like there's this hallway, right? And at the end of that hallway is my purpose. Now, there's not an end, but we're just going to use this analogy.
Okay.
Now, you have all these doors that you can go into. Let me check this out. Let me just check this out, before you get to your purpose, per se.
Absolutely.
Or, you can cross to your purpose. You can walk to your purpose. You can run to your purpose. But the pace of where you get somewhere depends on you. Do I want to keep going through these lessons? Do I want to listen? And where I'm going with that is, what I'm hearing you say is, I want to get to my purpose, meaning I don't want to focus on the other things. So with you doing that, you're going to get there pretty damn fast. And I already see it.
Wow.
And I just want you to remember to continue to trust the process. If you don't do anything else,
trust the process.
Trust the process.
Absolutely. I'm in that hallway right now, and I know I touched on temptation earlier, so I'm gonna say that all those doors are temptation. So
That's a great way.
You might want to go here, you might want to go there, but the end goal is what's at the end. So the end goal for me is to be a legend. I want to be that artist that's, for instance, I actually went to a show last night. It was the Four Queens One Stage show. And so it was Gladys Knight, Stephanie Mills, Patti LaBelle, and Shaka Khan.
That's beautiful.
If you know anything about any of those people, how long have they been around for?
Ever.
Absolutely. They still sound the same. I guarantee you they still put in the same amount of work on a regular basis. And they're still Gladys Knight is 81 years old and she's still touring. That's not overnight success, and that's not done for money, and that's not done for anything. That's what I'm trying to be. I just want to, you don't even have to call me a legend. I don't even have to be legendary. I just want to have that type of impact on the music industry, and I want to bring real music back. And so me playing an instrument, I feel like gives me that outlet. And so I'm just going to take it and run with it. And I just hope that the people understand that that's what I want out of this. I want to be remembered as that guy that changed the course of music today, because music today is not what it was back then. So I'm trying to bring that back through my music.
Sure. So with you being a part of One Degree, what specifically about One Degree Entertainment is helping you at this moment get there?
Mm-hmm. That's why I stress the importance of a team, because, if I'm struggling in a specific aspect, whether it's Kevin Bryant, whether it's Preston Willis, who actually is my key man. So Preston and I have a relationship to where he, shout out to P. We have a relationship.
Shout out to P.
Shout out to P. That's my guy. We have a relationship where if I'm in a position where I should be doing something that I'm not doing necessarily, or that I'm lacking in, he's gonna straight shoot me. He's gonna be like, Cam, why aren't you doing this? Cam, you should be doing this. And I know that at the end of the day, it takes that tough love, and it takes that number one is, like I said, having a team and a support system is massive. But it takes that tough love, and it takes, especially for me who never really was in a position where I had to understand what work ethic was and understand what it takes to earn something, to have those people pushing you day in and day out it leaves me speechless, because
Sure.
I know that is like that's really like that builds the foundation for getting to where I want to go.
Sure.
So shout out to Kev, shout out to Preston, shout out to the whole entire team at One Degree Entertainment, because without them, you wouldn't see me in the position that I am today, and you certainly won't see me in the position where I get to.
That's awesome.
So I owe everything to my team.
That's awesome. Well, shout out to you, One Degree. Throughout this interview, I heard you say, I'm a people pleaser. When you say I am, you're affirming. We're not affirming. So I want you to just think about it. You don't have to say anything today.
Okay.
But maybe for the next podcast.
You heard that, right? Next podcast?
What can we replace that with? Right? So that way when you're talking to your audience and the people who are going through the same things that you go through or you've been through, they don't affirm the I am. Right? We're working through it. We're getting through it.
Well, so from my situation, I was going to say I was. Because for the longest time I was. That. But now that I'm trying to break out of that, I can say I was. But like you said, it could be I'm trying to, I'm willing to, because like I've said, I'm going to. That's the one. You're going to get out of wherever you are. If you're out there right now and you're struggling, or you don't know your identity, or you're going through things, you're going to be okay. You're going to get through it. And it's up to people like me. I feel like that's my purpose, to make sure that if you listen to my music or you connect with my journey, whether it's through what I've been through what you're going through my message, through all that, it's all going to be okay. I think that's the greatest phrase in the world to live by. My grandmother used to say, "It too shall pass," which is a gem. But I'll say, it's going to be okay.
I love that. And it will.
Absolutely. It's all, look at me. I am living proof that it's going to be okay. I'm making my own self. But I am living proof that it will be okay.
Sure. All right, my closing question for you. Ready?
Okay. Hit me.
All right. If you could speak to someone out there who feels trapped by other people's opinions, what's the one thing you would tell them about becoming okay with who they are?
Do I have permission to say a specific word?
I don't care what you say. Say it.
Let me look right in the camera for this, because I have to get down to business. Fuck them. Don't care what people say. Don't let their opinions influence anything you do, because at the end of the day, you're your own person. At the end of the day, only you can determine who you want to be. Shout out to Kevin Bryant. That's one of his songs. Who you want to be, and where you're gonna go.
Beautiful.
And you shouldn't care. You shouldn't give a damn what anybody says, because I did that for the longest time, and it got me nowhere. It actually got me behind where I wanted to go, because I was lost, and now I'm found.
Right. Don't
give a damn. Fuck them, and be you.
Period.
That's it.
He said what he said, and I back that 1,000%. There's two books that I love. The one is The Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
See?
That's a great book. And another book that recently came out, I've always kind of been like this myself. It's called Let Them. Right? Let them. Let people do what they do. Let people say what they say. Because at the end of the day, it really has nothing to do with you. Right. It has nothing to do with you. It's their perspective. It's their reality. You don't have to live in it. That's the beautiful part.
Absolutely.
So, Cam, do you have anything else for us? Is there any other messages that you wanted to leave? Any questions you have for me?
I'm just grateful for you having me on. This is what I feel like shout out to her, first off. Shout out to Inayah. This is what I feel like all platforms should be like. I feel like I'm comfortable, I'm relaxed. She's not, she's put me on the hot seat, but it's not like I'm in the hot seat. This is, blow her up, please. If I blow up, blow her up with me. That's it. Remember this podcast. Remember this conversation we've had, and all the gems that she's dropped and I've dropped. Take them and run. And I promise you, it's going to be okay. Fuck them.
I love that. Thank you so much. You're going to make me emotional. All right, y'all. Honestly, I don't have anything else to say. Cam, that was so beautiful, and I appreciate you coming on here and being vulnerable with me.
Of course.
Being vulnerable with us. Make sure that you guys share this with someone who may need it, because there's a lot of people out here who have suffered, are currently suffering with depression, who are suffering with people pleasing, or trying to figure out what their path is and how to get there. And Cam has a damn good story that can influence so many of us. So make sure you guys, if you haven't taken the time, make sure you subscribe, like, and share this with someone else. And until next time, we'll see you soon. This is what I think about tough seasons versus toxic relationships in general. A tough season, it tests your love. A toxic relationship,